Hey guys, this is Production Music Live with another tutorial, and in this one we are quickly going to check out how to make a piano ballad like Adele, Hello. And you see over here I'm using Ableton. I've compiled 26 tracks and I'm using Ableton standard elements only, no third-party plugins or anything. This is Ableton only, and I've recorded some piano, cello and string samples so we can focus on the standard elements. So over here on top we have a couple of drum elements, bass drums, snares and more snares, tom right and crashes, a little bit of white noise, kind of diffuse ambience. And down here we have some vocal effects. And in between we have a couple of strings, bells, pianos, a sub bass over here and more pianos playing here, cellos and some strings. So for the drums, I'm using our Deep Premium drum sample pack. I'm going to show that in a minute. And the pianos are actually taken out of the piano pack from Ableton. So this one, grand piano. But I've recorded some necessary sounds, some stretchy sounds over here, and we can focus on Ableton standard elements. If we look at the beginning over here and we start with this piano, we can see we are playing those notes. So it's not the exact chord structure from Adele Hello, but it's quite similar. We have a newly made chord progressions course. You can check the description for that one, where we explain how to come up with this kind of chord progressions for tracks and add top melodies on top that fit nicely. And you see I'm cutting off lower frequencies, so the low end of this piano, and some resonant parts around 300 Hertz. And then I'm using a high cut over here or a low pass filter, and this one actually just sets the boundaries. We will never go higher than 2K over here in this track because it's fairly lo-fi, because on top in those frequencies in the song Adele is singing, so this is for the vocals reserved. We just filter it up from lower mids up to 2K. Don't worry too much about those instrument racks. They're just here to make those samples playable over the whole region of our keyboard, basically. We could also use some other piano sounds for those chords. For example, if we copy the chords in the beginning here, and we duplicate this track and we put, for example, we put a contact piano, like that gentleman, for example. If we use this piano, that's what it would sound like. So if you have better piano plugins, you can, of course, you can use them. I'm just taking it back to the sample-based approach, so everybody who only uses standard edition can actually make use of this project file. So well, anyways, let's go on and focus on the other elements. I'm deleting this track. We don't need it. You can see we start in the beginning. We use the same structure like Adele Hello, but we cut the video sequence in the beginning of the song and we start with the song where actually somebody's singing. And we start with the fairly lo-fi pianos. And on top of that, I have this ambience playing, and that's basically a recording out of a library, and there's a couple of effects on top. There's a low cut EQ and there's fairly long reverb, 4 seconds on top of it as well. So this really changes the nature of this track here. If you use those types of ambiences, you can add so much depth into your sound, it's amazing. So, for example, with a library or sometimes with a subway station or something that fits your track, you will figure something out, just put it together and it sounds totally different already. So over here we recorded some bells. And you can see, as almost always, I'm using the track delay function over here, because if I have the feeling I'm starting at 1/1 of the bar and my bell comes in too early, I don't move the MIDI files around over here. I just take the track delay and tell it to start all this sound 68 milliseconds later. And also, we are EQing a bit over here. We are taking more of the lows actually here. A long reverb as well. Taking out the resonant parts around 2/2. Because this really bites, so you need to take those biting parts out, and you know how to find those biting parts, right? You just take a bell curve and you go through the frequency spectrum while you listen to the playback. And there you just go over it like that, and you take those out. An auto filter behind it, because we are always leaving room on top for the voice. That's why all this playback sounds so lo-fi, because we need space and room for the vocals on top. You see, thought about using ping pong delay, in the end didn't really do much with it. And we have the reverb over here, a longer one. And now we're rolling off the low end over here, and we're taking down those resonant parts again. And in this part, right in front of the first chorus, I think in Adele's song, they are using a reversed piano over here. And I'm just faking that effect with putting up the filter of this long piano chord here. So we... But this effect is just very basic. You can do a lot more if you're using the reversed piano sound here, and then you're using the filter on top. That's also possible. And you can see over here, I'm using the reversed cymbal. So this crash here, it's just taken in reverse. And then we take out a lot of low end, put a long reverb. Again, everything has very long reverbs, and it's since everything is so slow over here, we can really take our time with everything. Long bells, long pianos, everything fairly lo-fi, because it's a slow song. It's 79 beats per minute. And you see I'm supporting the piano over here with another piano, but this one gets heavy chorus. It actually just fills up the frequency around our piano. This one is sitting in the middle of our panorama, or a bit turned to the left, but overall you perceive it in the middle. And this one is just here to hang around because it sounds quite empty without it. So we are taking the chorus effect up here. And we're also taking more of the long tail of the sound. So those brushy parts, we want those brushy late parts of the piano. That's why we have such heavy compression here. Chorus on top, without chorus. Taking it to the sides, a bit warmer saturation here. You just fill up your track so nicely. If you use very little elements, you just copy one of the elements and still sound very full. So let's put on another auto filter here and take a long reverb, again not that long. Now this is important, we are taking a mid-side EQ here, we are rolling off the low end of the mids and we are emphasizing on the higher frequencies on the sides, which is really important here to distinguish this piano from this one. And of course we have one more piano, this is just the top melody kind of thing. Just another piano over here, and that one focuses also a bit more on the sides in mid-side mode over here. And in the end we are using a very long reverb tail because we want to use it like an ambience on top as well. You can also hear this string over here. It's just a very high violin recorded. Just adding a bit of drama on top. And I'm using a long reverb again. Just the same length like this piano top layer over here. And we have a white Atmo over here. It's just a recorded white noise I'm using here from one of our synths. Just put it on white noise and just record it. And then we are taking a low end off, auto filter, a bit of a chorus here, and of course a reverb again. So it's always kind of the same story because we're always looking for the sort of the same feel. Okay, let's quickly look at the bass drum over here. So we are playing a very simple pattern. This is our bass drum. It's our Kick 34 from the D Premium pack, so that is how it sounds in solo mode. We want a different feeling to it, so we are adding, most importantly, we're adding a filter. And we are rolling off some high end here. And then we are also compressing the sound just a bit. Give it more punch. And the chorus. adds a bit more wider feel to it, because we are not looking for some exact kind of kicky, clicky kick drum here. It's just more a bouncy feeling in the back. Same is true for the snare sound. We're using our snare 18 here. So this one, but this has, it's taken down 2 semitones, and also chorus on top, low and rolling off, high filtering here without the filter. Resonance up here a bit. We want this resonant thing over there. And now combined with the bass drum. It's very basic over here. Later we are adding in a couple of more sounds. If I quickly skip to this part here. We have this very subtle tom over here, which is just adding in a bit of groove. It's our tom 2, and auto filter on top of it as well. And let's play it together with the deep snare and the bass drum. And we have another late snare here, this one. Just playing forever, also with a bit of auto filter and a long reverb, just the same length as those other ambient elements down there. Adding this epic feeling to the track, and we have a second snare here, this one. It's actually the same sample, sample 9, here again. And this one gets a bit of simple delay here, so this. And let's quickly hop to the end part where there's a bit more drumming stuff going on. We change our bass drum to a kick 5, which sounds more like a live kit kick. And that one is fairly heavy EQ'd, as you can see here. I'm really trying to match the nature of a live kick drum that still snaps a bit. So if you listen to it without those EQs, it has so much high end and you don't actually need that. So let's take off all the effects here. Chorus, EQ. So how do you change this sound of the kick, which is you could use somewhere else nicely, but here it's not what you need, because you need it to sound a lot more lo-fi. So you take down the higher frequencies first and take down the woody parts here. That's already nicer. And now we want to take off this stuff here, resonant stuff, and focus a bit more on the low end. So that's why we put on this one. And now move it a bit to the sides. And now we have our snare 6, this one, real snare sound, and we just added it a bit bit of chorus, a bit of EQ, focus on the higher parts here, and we're using a long reverb and a bit of a simple delay. Right. Well, a bit of chorus, a bit of reverb, a bit of delay. And yeah, that's what we are playing. Dub, 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 dub. Okay, we already talked about the high string, and we also saw those bells already. They're just playing something different here. Yeah, and we also play a sub bass over here in the part where it's getting a bit more groovy. It's just a recorded sine wave. And we are playing those notes, D, F, C, A sharp. You can use basically every sine wave for this purpose. And also we have those cello parts in the track. So we recorded a cello over here from the orchestral strings pack, and put a bit of chorus reverb and mid-side EQ on top of it. And you can see I'm automating the volume of the utility over here. And that's just to add some dynamics, because in the beginning of a new part, you're still able to hear the cello playing, and then it's taken out a bit, and then to add some more drama after 4, or in this case 8 bars, we come back with the cello and everybody's like, ah, there's the cello, there's the drama. And so we can go back out and back in all the time, just flowing like a wave. And we do the same thing with the strings. So a couple of strings playing along. And you can see I'm just picking a couple of notes out of those full chords, because not everything has to play the full chord. That's enough, because the chord is covered by the pianos. We can just focus on a couple of notes and play them with the strings over here. You're not piling up too much noise over the frequency range, but you can still emphasize on a couple of frequencies that nicely cover this instrument. And then we are faking a backing squire with a couple of vocal samples here. Let's first look at this FX vocal sample, which is this one down here. So now you're probably like, was that in there all the time? And you cut off some low end and you put a lot of reverb on top of it, and you just play it in the first bar at position 1. And kind of introduces this choir feeling, and then we're adding in a couple of more vocal sounds. You see I've looped this region over here because I thought this one is useful. This is an atmosphere vocal sample. I've taken out a lot of stuff. You can see this filter cuts off everything below 7/9, and then we have a reverb and simple delay. Really move it to the back of the track. Over here we have those vocal shots. Just in here to sound like backings, like ad-libs, something like that, to accompany the stuff that's being sung. And the same story over here with this sample and with those notes. Usually you wouldn't work that way, because usually if you produce this piano ballad, you have the vocals and you can create those backings, all of the recorded vocals, or you even recorded backings, even better. But you can take the initial vocal sample and just mess around with it and create this stuff. If you don't have the stuff, just create it out of a couple of vocal samples, and it's working fine as well. It's not perfect, but it works. So let's go back and get an overview again, taking this down a bit. And you can do a lot more with drumming elements over here, and it sounds a lot more interesting if you put in vocals. Maybe you have your own song and you just change the chord structure and put in your own song vocals. But you can get an idea of how you can reproduce this type of piano ballad with Ableton only and use the standard Ableton elements and replicate some kind of super pop hit. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Check the description for our sample pack and this template over here. Subscribe to our channel, follow us on Facebook, and I hope to see you next time.